The Harpswell Select Board meeting of Thursday, April 25th. We'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We're going to move up 8 to 5 point, right after consent agenda.
Grants?
Okay.
Other than that, we good?
I don't have anything.
No. Public comment? No? There we go.
Hi, Dave Moody from the NEC. I heard recently that at the last selectmen's meeting, you guys discussed the wharf leases that are on or attached to town property. And whether the current $100, I believe it's $100 annual lease fees should be increased. I hold one of those leases, which comes up for renewal in a couple of years, or a little less than 2 years. And my lease differs from most, if not all, of the other ones because mine's a 25-year lease. But I watched a recorded version of that meeting, and I got a few comments. And Jane Covey here brought up the discussion and thinks the fees should be increased. Now, admittedly, $100 a year isn't a ton of money, but I question why the fee should be raised at all. Harpswell this year has a $7.5 million administrative budget. And I believe, including mine, there are only 8 or 9 of these wharf leases in town. I didn't hear any specific amount of the increase you had in mind, but even if you doubled it, you'd be collecting less than $2,000, in a year. And that's, to me, that seems kind of silly when you look at the budget this town's got. And don't forget, these wharfs are being used by fishermen to run their businesses. I said, we live here, we pay taxes here, some of us have kids here in school. This town was founded by farmers and fishermen. There certainly aren't many farms left. And if Governor Mills and the politicians in Washington have their way before too long, there aren't not going to be any of us fishermen left either. I think it'd be nice if the town government recognized the situation we're in and stood with us instead of adding what seems to me to be an unfair, unnecessary financial burden. And finally, near the end of your discussion on the 11th, Mr. Chipman said something that I have a big problem with. You referred to us, the leaseholders here in town on these wharfs, as squatters.
No.
Yes.
Well.
Yes, you did, David.
Originally.
You want to hear it on the phone?
No,
I
I
got
know
it
what I
queued up.
said, and I know why I said it. I wasn't picking on you.
Well, who were you picking on?
I wasn't picking on anybody. I was talking
Well-
about the folks that didn't know who the land belonged to, and they just built the wharves there without asking anybody.
Well, that's not how it came across.
Well, I'm sorry, that's not how I meant it.
Like I said, I've been called a lot of things, but never that.
I wasn't talking about you.
I looked up the definition of the word and just to make sure I had reason to be offended, and I do. A squatter is a person who settles on land or occupies property without title, right, or payment of rent or lease. You were way out of line making that comment.
No, that's what those guys were doing originally. And when we discovered it was town property, we always thought it was state property. And we had to do something about it because we
Don't-
were liable for anything
Don't
that
forget,
happened there.
I got a lease.
No, I know exactly where your lease is, and I was involved with giving it to you.
No,
I'm not
I
talking
got
about you.
excuse me, a deed
Yeah,
that you and others denied back at the time. And I still hold that, still in the registry of deeds in Portland. But anyway, that's the end of the day for tonight.
okay.
But none of the people holding these leases in town now are squatters.
Correct.
And I don't think I took that wrong. I think if anybody else listened to that, they'd feel the same way I do. And I wondered if you realize that you probably insulted some people that might have voted for you, that might have had friends and family that voted for you. I think you ought to think about that going forward.
Well, I'm sorry you took it the way it was, because didn't mean to insult anyone. Originally, people were squatting. That's what they were doing. They were on land that they didn't necessarily have the right to be there, didn't even ask. They
I just
built
had a
houses.
conversation tonight with a guy that fishes off the Oars Island part there.
Yeah,
And what his understanding was, when they dug out that gut, they dumped that land, all the detriment there, and made a parking lot, and said it was there for the fishermen.
right, well, we always thought it was state property, and the state says, no, it belongs to the town. And we would be liable for anything that happened there, so we had to,
But maybe you want to go back and listen to what you said and how you said it, because I'm pretty sure if anybody else besides me listened to it, they'd think the same thing.
sorry I came out that way. As far as I'm concerned, we're charging them too much already to be there, so
Well, when I remember this distinctly. Everybody else was paying $1 when I got my lease.
yeah.
And you guys decided to charge me $2 for a 25-year lease, and I jokingly said, you're charging me double what everybody else is paying.
Yeah,
And $100 is nothing,
yeah.
but I can't see raising it.
No, I agree with
From what it is
You
right
said in
now.
that account, and when we initially started charging for the leases, the price is going up. I said, we gotta stop this. These guys, some of these guys, can't really afford to have any waterfront property, this is their access to the water. So we need to charge them for the insurance, they need to insure.
Which we all do.
Protect us. But raising just because it's town land and maybe we could make some money off it, that's not my plan at all, so. I agree with what you're saying, and I'm sorry if you took the squatting thing wrong, that's not what I meant. I mean, you guys are 100% now, so.
That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Well, I don't usually speak, public speaking, but I will say this board changed the policy that was enacted years ago. So before, take Mark Davis, when he was done with it, he could not have handed that off to his son. It was done. It goes to town property. George Morgan, years ago, same situation. He wanted to give it to his son, but that's not the way it was written at the time. So, was it 3 or 4 years, 2 years ago? We changed the policy to keep it in there. So Mark can hand it down to little Mark. Paul Morgan can hand it down to his son-in-law if he wants to. Same with Scott Morgan, any of those guys. But you have to have a job in the marine business, not necessarily lobstering, a clam digger, marine-related business. So any of those leases go up now, it'll go into a lottery. So anybody in town who's got a marine-related business can apply for that wharf, or that's not a wharf probably, but a spot to put a wharf in there. So I'm just saying, we do look after the local guys.
Well, so-
We changed it so it wouldn't revert to town property.
My lease must be different than everybody else's, because
Yeah,
mine already says that.
Yeah, that's, where you are
25
and
years
where the
ago,
bridge is.
or 23 years ago,
Yes,
yeah.
two different things. Yeah, you got a totally different situation than
Right.
those guys do.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
All right, just thought I'd let you know. All right, select board's announcements?
Roadside cleanup was, John Gillum Day was pretty effective. We took, I don't know, I haven't got the results of how much, we took quite a lot of stuff off the side of the road, so.
Pretty
Even
rainy.
though it was a pouring rain day, it wasn't a huge turnout. But we did it.
Nothing for me.
Nothing, me either. Town administrator's report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. I just have one quick announcement. This Saturday is one of our medication collection dates here at the town office from 10 to 2. So stop by if you've got anything in the medicine cabinet that you need to get rid of. We also take anything that might be veterinarian-related medicines that you no longer need or use, so bring them in. Thanks.
All right. Consent agenda.
I move the consent agenda, which is the appointment of officials, ballot clerk appointments, updated planner job description, retroactive safety grant application, letters to Senator Collins and King regarding recycling, and authorization of the warrants.
Second.
All in favor?
And
Oh.
if I could just make one comment on the planner job description, you had previously approved it, and we just kind of cleaned it up and reorganized it. The planning board acting chair asked if they could take a look at it, so I will send it out, but we've already started advertising, so.
See, they're
just-
still,
Yeah.
they're still required to be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they-
Horse is already out of the
We
barn.
didn't remove that, but
Right.
anyway.
All right, we get 5 minutes until public hearing, so we're going to move to 8.
Are you gonna do seven?
What's that?
Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So we can get her out of here.
Get it.
Thanks. Susan Stemper for Harpswell Community Garden. You've got 2 items on for us tonight. The first is acceptance of the grant awarded to us by Harpswell Heritage Land Trust. You've got the materials in your packet. This is what we presented to you back in February. Just as a quick reminder, we don't receive any funding from the town. There are no tax dollars to the garden. So we are very grateful to have this grant approved in full by the Land Trust again. The balance of our funding for this year comes from our reserves, money that we've retained over years from rental income and donations. So I don't know if you guys want to take that one before the other item.
Yeah, I move we accept that grant.
Second?
All in favor? Any discussion?
Excellent. Second item is concurrent with getting funding. We also have found an excellent candidate for the position that we're hiring. This is a part-time position that you authorized us to recruit back in February. Grace Kneebone is our finalist candidate. She has significant work experience exactly in this type of activity. Will be excellent with the volunteers. Little PSA, we can always use more volunteers at the garden. And we'd like your approval to hire her effective next week at a rate of $22 per hour.
So move.
Second.
No discussion? All in favor?
Right?
Super, thanks. Sarah.
Want to do the grants, the other grants
Yep.
while we're here?
Yep.
So the main DOT adaptation grant, I know the chair of the Conservation Commission and Climate Resiliency, Mary Ann Naif, is in our media booth, but she had spoken with the board previously. You approved an application that the town sent to DOT. It was to get engineering funds for looking at the Dingley Island Road Bridge and the Lowell's Cove Road. We applied for $50,000 from DOT, and they have granted that. And we have said that we would use up to, I believe, $9,000 of our resiliency reserve to match that
Right.
grant.
I move we accept that grant.
Second.
No discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
And the other grant is from the Maine Department of Environmental Protection. The town has a boat pump outflow over in Cundy's Harbor, and this grant funding is for pumping the waste out of it and any maintenance that may be necessary. And it's for $5,000, and we hope you accept it.
So move.
Second.
No discussion? All in favor?
Right?
Good. All right, at this point, we'll open up a 6:15 public hearing. First-time alcohol license for Fishnet Cafe, 2118 Harpswell Island Road, Bailey Island, Maine.
So I'll introduce it. Sarah's here this evening, and while Fishnet Cafe was in existence prior to, Sarah's the new owner, so she has to apply with the state of Maine for a new alcohol license. She's applying for serving malt liquor and wine, and her expected hopeful open date is May 15th. A public hearing has to be held at the municipal level. Abutters were sent a notification about tonight's hearing, and there was an ad run in the Times Record 3 days prior to the hearing, as required by the state. And Sarah's here if you have any particular questions, but we've met the statutory requirement. Sarah will reimburse us for the cost for the advertising as required, and that's it. I don't know if you have any questions or if Sarah has anything she'd like to say.
No? I'm all set. I know the place well.
Any public comments? Public hearing?
Nope. I don't see any public comment out there.
Close the hearing. I'll make the motion.
That's right. At this point, we will close the hearing.
I move that we approve this application.
Second.
All in favor?
Right? There you go.
Do you want me to get your signature real quick and you don't have to come back?
Good luck with everything.
All right, at this point, number 7, Harbor and Waterfront Committee Mission Statement.
So you remember back on March 28th, Jerry requested that we start a committee called the Fisheries Knowledge Trust Committee. And I suggested that rather than start another committee, that we roll some of this into the Harbor and Waterfront Committee. And so some proposed language that I might offer is promote, defend our working waterfront and fishing heritage. That's a proposal. Don't know what you guys might think about it. Want to say it again?
No, I heard the words, but where does this go?
It would go into the mission statement for the Harbor and Waterfront Committee. It would
But
be
you're-
you have this, you have the mission
I have
statement.
the existing, sorry.
It would
In
be added
addition to
that.
their,
So it would be in addition to what we have. So one of the things I found interesting when I was looking at this and wondering what we were going to do this evening was that it's been, the mission is, this is a committee by ordinance. So my only question is, do we need to address the ordinance if we're going to change the mission in any way?
That's a good question.
I think that is an interesting question.
never thought about it.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, the committee has to
Darn you,
support
Jane.
the ordinance-related tasks, but you're talking about broadening the responsibilities of the Harbor and Waterfront
Yeah,
Committee,
yeah,
potentially?
Just to make it, it's kind of a general statement, really, but it's general and yet it's focused. So,
I think the board itself on it, how broad do you want this to be? Can you repeat what you were recommending for language?
promote and defend our working waterfront and fishing heritage as part of the mission statement for the Harbor and Waterfront Committee.
Let me just raise another thing. Looking at this done in 2013 and followed by various goals that are 2013.
Yeah,
That's a very broad statement that you just read, David, and it would be very interesting to me to know what does that mean in terms of what the committee would do. And perhaps
Well-
many committees may need to update their goals and plans, but
What I picture is having that in there, the committee would have consideration for the working waterfront, specifically, when they're dealing with things. Other than that, I mean, it's just a
yeah,
general.
they do anyway.
Yeah. But this
Yeah.
just incorporates it into their mission statement.
I think you could say something in the mission statement about, in addition to the responsibilities and duties that are laid out in the ordinance, in addition, there would be these, broader,
Yep,
broader consideration.
yep,
I think you
That
could
would
do
be,
that.
I'd be comfortable with that.
okay.
We go to that then?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, are you talking about expanding the size of the committee? Are you?
Nope,
No,
Okay.
no.
well, I make that motion that we include that in
With
there.
that done, yeah.
Second?
Any? Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
Good.
All right.
Just parenthetically, before we move on to the next item, that is sort of a housekeeping thing. I think we talked about it a little bit last time, or not maybe last meeting, but at one meeting, that with COVID, we lost our habit of bringing the committees together and hearing about their strategies and plans. And I'd like to recommend that we find a way to do more of that and encourage.
So there was a time when we would invite each committee to
Yeah.
come to the select board meeting and talk about its goals. Is that how you would like to see that work?
I think that actually worked pretty good. The meetings that we had with all the committees or representatives from them was a little scattered, I guess I would say.
So we can
Maybe it could
begin
even
to
be-
reach out to committees, and we can begin to schedule like one or two committees
Yeah,
going forward at each meeting and, talk
room's not
about-
big enough for all the committees.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we could
We
do
don't-
another type of meeting with just the chairs of each
Yeah.
committee at some point, but it seems like you really need to try to develop this communication with the committees and about their goals, their responsibilities. It
Yeah.
has been a while since you've had those kind of direct conversations as an entire board. You have the liaison system where each member of the board, tends to go to those particular committee meetings that you're responsible for. But this is, as a full board, hearing what the committee's doing. Generally, the chair would report to you, other members would be present. The public would hear what the committees are doing and what they're spending their time on. So I think that is a good way to move forward.
Right, and we've had the creation of the Resiliency and Sustainability Committee, which brings them together, which has been a very effective model, I think, and you mentioned something about that, David, as well. So thinking about where there are opportunities or perhaps needs for committees to connect to one another. Some of that is done, I know, by members of the Recreation Committee sitting on town lands and things like that, but keeping in mind if the coordination and the integration between the committees, that could be part of the discussion with each of them. Thank you.
All right. Town property matters. Portable toilet amendments, Potts Point permit.
This is very important, we deal with porta potties.
I'll
We
take
should
this
move that
one.
up the list.
Thank you, Terry.
So the town does provide portable toilets at some of its properties, Mitchell Field, Bethel Point, Trufen Somerton Ball Field, and the town office for Hike in the Cliff Trail, and the transfer station. And they haven't been the best quality or maintained at all times. And so the rec director is recommending, she has a local person, Jericho Septic Services, and she used him for a bandstand event last year. I think the Mallet Brothers, where a few thousand people were expected. And we have received complaints on our portable toilets, and so we have received some pricing. Estimating out for the year, it would be $1,200 more than the current company. But the committees I reached out to and the staff members feel that the quality and local service is worth that extra cost and the supplies that have not been fully maintained.
So I agree with the complaints. I've run into a few problems myself. So the increase makes it $9,650. So we have that in the account?
In the individual budgets, yes.
Okay.
And so the reason why it is before you, just, you did make a joke about it being important stuff, is it is over $5,000, and that, over that has to be a board approved.
Move we approve it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Get that out of the way. Feasibility study for proposal for central emergencies.
There's one other item under 9.
What'd I miss?
The Potts Point.
The access stair.
So the Harbor and Waterfront Committee has been working with the harbor master, and I believe the chairman of the board has been involved in those discussions about what short-term action the town should take this year to try to continue access to the Potts Point mooring field. And so, obviously, we have filed an insurance claim, and they are going to be paying the town some money on that claim. We'll also be talking to FEMA about what kind of reimbursement we can get from FEMA for the public infrastructure. And obviously, by talking with FEMA, you have to rebuild. You don't get the money unless you're planning to rebuild
Right.
what was there previously. FEMA also has a program, a mitigation program, where we could apply to build something more resilient. So those are things we'll be looking into in the longer term. But this is short term. People have been asking the town, how are they going to access their moorings? I guess we're gonna put some floats out there, some haul-offs, but we need a safe way for people to get down to the shore. I don't think we want people scrambling over the embankment necessarily. That may happen, but we're trying to, get permission from the board tonight to put in an application to put a set of stairs down there for people to use for access.
I move we grant that request.
Second.
I was down there last week with Paul and all the stakeholders there. They're a busy little bunch.
Yeah. They're keeping a close eye on
I'm surprised they're not,
actions.
surprised they're not here tonight. But, yeah, we figured a configuration where we're moving the floats from where they were,
Okay.
more southerly of where the old wharf
I think the
was.
challenge will be who can we find to build these stairs? I mean, we're talking about a month away
Yeah,
from
right.
Memorial
Yeah.
Weekend, so, we'll be putting the word out.
Yep,
You guys are all pretty busy right now.
yep. You second?
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
All right.
Feasibility study.
Yep. Back to the feasibility study for the central station.
So this comes to you after the town had a committee. It was made up of representatives from the Fire and Rescue Planning Committee. It involved the chiefs in Harpswell, Chief Mercier and Chief Wallace, myself. I think it was just the three of us. I think you were invited, but might have been too busy, or you were on vacation maybe or something.
Again?
Again?
Sorry.
Or still?
But anyway, we conducted interviews of companies that would help the town work through a process to develop a conceptual plan for a new centralized emergency services building. So we currently have a paramedic building near the recycling center, just up the hill from the town office. And that is where we house a paramedic vehicle 24/7. And we have a paramedic on duty all the time. Looking ahead, as the town starts to hire more municipal firefighters, we have an emergency management agent, a fire administrator. Where are we going to put these people in a central location where they can respond to the calls in the community from a central location? I mean, that's sort of where we're going in the future. And the Fire and Rescue Planning Committee has, agreed conceptually on this, and the town set aside some money several years ago for this process to begin. And we are ready to move forward with a consultant. Port City Architecture has designed a lot of new emergency services buildings in Maine. We actually did interview a company that was working with some out-of-state folks, and we just didn't feel like that was the right fit for the kind of project that we were looking for in Harpswell. We did talk about the location right next to the emergency services building, and 2 out of the 3 consultants that we talked to said they didn't think that was the best location. It looked like we were trying to shoehorn a building in that couldn't necessarily be expanded upon in the future. So, I mean, they were very upfront in these
Yeah.
interviews. And in the end, our team recommended Port City Architecture. And so we're calling it more of a feasibility study, looking at the current operations of the fire and rescue services, where we're going in the future, what our needs might be, and where the best location on town property in a centralized area would be.
So, when this current building was built, we were kind of hoping that it would be expandable, which is anything but. So, hoping to work with these folks to assure that whatever we do is going to be something that we can grow with. So, no, I move that we
Yeah.
go forward with it.
Yeah, I was there, actually. So,
Oh, okay. I thought you were, but
It's all coming back to me.
you might have missed a meeting, but anyway,
That's all right.
that's all right.
Yeah,
A very impressive company.
Yes,
yeah,
Small Maine company, though.
Yeah.
And
nice color brochure.
and if anybody out there is wondering why we're doing this, is County's Harbor's got a severe lack of volunteers. They're having trouble daily.
So does Harpswell Neck.
And Harpswell Neck, David's one of the younger ones on the fire department.
Yeah.
Oh, literally. So, and Oars Island's doing all right now, but everything's all cyclical with these fire departments. And so we've always thought there was gonna be a central station someday for the last 40 years. And you know, in the next, probably the next 10 years it'll have to be.
Okay, I second the motion
Yeah.
for Port City.
All in favor?
Thank you. I should say, just to expand upon the process, once the consultant has worked with the town's fire and rescue committee, including the select board, at some point, we would seek public input with some of these conceptual designs, and eventually it would lead to an estimated cost, which would ultimately go to the town meeting in Harpswell. So there will be a public process, the public will be involved, and, we will welcome the input, for sure.
All right. All set? Timeline for special town meeting.
Okay, so we had been, holding May 11th aside as a possible special town meeting date, thinking that the comprehensive plan for the town of Harpswell would be ready for the voters. But for a number of reasons, it's not going to be ready for May 11th. And the comp plan task force is going to hold, I think, an informational session, Oars Bailey Island. And at some point, I would like to suggest that the select board and the task force get together. We will hold a public workshop, and I think you need to hear from the task force where it's at, where it's going, what the time frame looks like. I don't know that we have those answers at this point in time. But we do have an item that must be voted on prior to June 20th, and we held a public hearing last night. It was the planning board that held a public hearing on the proposed FEMA floodplain maps. We got some good public input last night. There's a floodplain management ordinance that has been provided to the town by the state with input from FEMA. We were asked very specific questions about could some of the language be changed. So, today, I have had a discussion with someone at the state floodplain program, and they have indicated that they will be sending Harpswell a copy with some revisions that they would be supportive of. So I don't have that in hand yet, but I mentioned some of the comments that we heard last night, particularly on the engineering piece that was being required. So until I have that in hand, I can't say I know exactly what we're going to get, but I think any improvement to, some of the comments we heard about the current ordinance would be a step forward. So we do have to have the town adopt these maps if we want people to retain the ability to have flood insurance through the National Flood Insurance Program. We are also getting the number of people in Harpswell who currently have that, and so I don't have that number for you tonight, but we are getting it. All of that being said, I think we're looking at a June date. The planning board agreed to hold another public hearing on May 22nd. So, Harpswell has a legislative body. It's the town meeting voters who adopt ordinances. The only ordinances that the select board can adopt are the general assistance ordinance and I think the cable TV ordinance. I believe everything else has to go to the town meeting.
Yep.
So some of the dates we're looking at are June 8th, June 15th. I'm just trying to get some feedback tonight on where this board stands, on what date might be.
Well, I think we need room to breathe.
Yeah.
The 15th is what I would go with. I mean, that's as late as we can
Okay.
do it. The 20th is the deadline, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
It's cutting it close, but it gives us a little room to breathe.
Agreed. And I think it was also mentioned last night that there was, in the public hearing, that there hadn't been any discussion of the residential elements of the firm, and that there may be more work for the planning board to do, so giving as much time to
Okay.
develop the ordinance and to have chance for people to look at it and understand it, I think is important.
Doesn't mean we don't need to hustle. We
Right,
still
no,
need to
no,
do
no,
that.
but,
No.
yeah, I think that's a good idea to go with the 15th. I know the school is available, so that's good. There could be some other items on that special town meeting warrant. Again, they were going to discuss accessory dwelling units last night, but they decided to put that off until the 22nd.
Yep.
You know, we're looking at any budget items that we feel might need to go back to the voters. I mean, in light of some of the storm damage and some of our road repairs, our town landing repairs, you know, even if you get FEMA money, it's reimbursement based, so you have to spend it first to get it back, for the public piece anyway. So that could be coming in front of you, but other than those issues, I'm not sure of anything else that you know, might be thinking about at this time that you would want on that warrant.
Not right at the moment.
Okay,
but-
okay.
But,
So we will focus on getting things ready for the 15th. That's helpful. We were looking for direction on that tonight.
All right,
so the nod is okay?
At this point, yes.
All right.
all right. Moving on, communication specialist, job description and advertising.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people will be pleased to see that, you know, the town has recognized that we need some very specific, dedicated help with communication. You know, we heard last night, you know, that we need to work harder on getting information out to the public, getting it on the website. You know, again, we need a focused person on our staff who can really be dedicated to this area. Now, this is just a part-time position. It's going to be less than 20 hours a week. But we're hoping that there is someone out there that has like this skill set that will.
PhD, I'm looking at this
Well,
job
we also
description.
would like someone to help us with the meetings, the hybrid meetings that we want to implement with people participating, you know, via remote capabilities. And so again, trying to pull all these things together, recognizing that we need to do a better job engaging with the community, getting information out to the community in multiple ways, multiple platforms, you know, Facebook and, again, the website, things that we really need to focus more time and attention on, and we need a person dedicated to doing that, keeping the information fresh, making it easy for people to find, getting rid of some of the old stuff. You know, it takes time. It takes time, it takes, you know, resources.
You think
and
20 hours a week is enough for this?
I think
This
it's a
is- this is-
start. Let's just say this
We'll
is
try
a
it.
start. And this came from a committee, we had a Technology and Communications Committee that recommended this a couple of years ago, so we've been working towards this. You know, we have it in the budget now, and I think it's a good place to start. You know, will we expand hours in the future? We might. But this is where we're starting.
All right, well, I move we advertise for the position,
Second
see what we got. Go fishing.
comment.
Allison Hawks, Cundy's Harbor. Thank you. I appreciate that you're listening. Communication is key for us all to work together. And as much as I complain about the Facebook page and that and the technology part, we are an older community. People love paper. And I would really, really love to see the town have, even if it was a quarterly fold, something, even, maybe even more regular, honestly, because I feel like we're all kind of, but even if it was just I know mailing stuff is expensive, but I think we can't always take the most inexpensive route, because I can see from what we're coming to that not everyone is engaged. And I would love to see, I mean, I'm sure you remember from when I served on the board, it was always like, I loved having paper. I've always, there are a lot of people that would love to see the paper as well. So don't negate that part. I would love to, there's so many ways to communicate, probably more than I can even think of too, but I would definitely love to see the town doing some paper stuff that went to every single mailbox.
Good point, and that is in here too, and I'm glad you mentioned it, to have a more regular newsletter that goes out, yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
We could probably put more stuff in the anchor once in a while, too.
we do, but again, I think we're hearing that people want the communication from the town directly. That's what we're hearing at some of the meetings.
Okay. I made the motion.
Oh, I thought, did I not second it? Second.
It's all right. All in favor?
Thank you.
Committee appointments.
Got a lot.
So this is an annual event. You often will have 3-year terms staggered between different committees. And the
Okay,
list
do
that
it.
you've been provided, I have some updates for you. Tina DeShane had reached out to committee members whose terms were expiring about to expire on April 30th.
So some of these on the list that haven't renewed,
I reached out to by phone.
Yeah, good.
And so if you want to take one at a time, bandstand, that's typically a committee size of 7.
Yep.
Again, I'll just go with what the board has established, but being certain town committees not established by an ordinance, you're able to expand, decrease, whatever. So
Okay.
by all means, stop me if I'm just assuming you're keeping at your current
Unless
level,
we say
but
otherwise.
if you want to change
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So bandstand has been at 7, and the chair, I spoke with him today, and while I did not reach Rick or Mike, the chair has indicated all 3 would like to continue serving
yeah.
on this committee.
Yeah.
And so if you reappoint your current 3 members for another term, you did have a new applicant, the committee would be full.
Okay.
That committee does a lot of hands-on work. I mean, they don't just sit in this room and meet, they actually do a lot of work, so it's good to have a few hands there, so I wouldn't mind having Jack added to it. I mean, it would make an even number, and we try to keep an odd number on our committees, but
So if you did want to consider changing and adding new members, I would ask that you only address the reapplicants, and
Yep.
the new applications really should be, if you're considering expanding the committees, I would
address
like
that
to,
separately.
I would like to submit the new people's applications to the staff liaison and to the chair of the committee.
Very good, yep, sure.
Okay, so hold off on that.
Well, I move that we appoint, reappoint the 3 that, that haven't applied yet but are going to. We're going to make them apply.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I was just, Terry had a quizzical look. No.
I didn't know if you want to say names.
No, well, they're the 3
Okay.
that haven't applied yet, so,
Yeah.
but they promised they will, right, so.
We can certainly ask them to do so.
Yeah.
If there was no change in phone numbers or email,
I know Mike.
completing a new application when they're reapplying, I didn't want to make them go through an additional step, but I'm happy to make them do that if you'd like them to do that.
Well, I know Mike has moved, I think everything's still the same as contact stuff, so, but they need to reapply, they're due, so.
Okay, absolutely. And then budget, there's the 2 that were due have reapplied, Stephen Pulsifer and Marge Webster Warren.
Mhm. So I move we reappoint Stephen Pulsifer and Marge Webster Warren to the Budget Committee.
Do you need to
Second.
do that?
And accept,
It's my mother.
okay.
What was that last
I-
piece?
Nothing, it was
Okay.
redundant.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have the Conservation Commission. It's been I guess, a 7-member committee with up to 2 alternates at times. We have the chair, Mary Ann Nave, renewing her application. The vice chair, Deidre Strachan, renewing. Wendy Batson, renewing. Jenny, is Jenny renewing? Yes, okay.
Promise.
I'm not going to try to pronounce her last name.
Zaccarello.
Okay, thank you. And the others already have terms that take them through 2026.
I move that we reappoint Mary Ann, Deidre, Wendy, and Jenny.
And I would second that. If we're adding to a committee, I would like to.
I think we are, right? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, we come back to that
7.
again.
7.
But I would like to suggest that Ann Caldwell be considered as a second associate. her application expressed interest in environmental and ecological and open space.
Be good.
So to deal with that as we did with Jack Rowland in the Budget Committee.
So are you including her, or at this point?
Well, I think
or-
what, if I
Okay.
heard Terry correctly, that if we're adding, while there's
Okay.
a space there, if that is not a firm second associate, then to go through the process.
Okay.
I am the liaison, but the chair may want to
Okay.
consider that. But it's my recommendation we add Ann Caldwell as an associate.
So you, on to the next? Did you actually vote? I'm sorry.
We did not.
We voted for the three that are on the committee to renew. Have we voted for that? Four of them.
It's actually
Right.
four.
Four on the
four.
committee to renew.
Yep.
Yeah, I made the motion.
Second.
All in favor? There we
Okay,
go.
great. Then Energy and Technology, that's a 7-person committee. John Monahan has submitted a renewal. The chair, Howard Marshall, submitted a renewal or plans to renew. Jeremy Jones plans to renew. Jack Rowland renew, and David Anthony renew. And there was one new applicant. If you accept all the renewals, it would stay at 7 members.
Yeah, we like to keep it
So-
an odd number.
Yep.
So I move that we reappoint John, Howard, Jeremy, Jack, and David.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay.
Did I leave somebody out? No. yes, I have.
Emergency vehicles, I wasn't really sure, are we still having a separate committee for that, or
You know, we haven't
you
had a
wanna-
meeting in years.
do you want to hold off on that?
Yeah, hold off on that
Find
one,
out
because
where that
I
one's
think it's
going?
kind of just wrapped up into our,
Fire and rescue planning, okay. And everyone on the fire and rescue planning group has renewed. That's Ted Merriman, John Pearson, Ben Wallace, Jonathan Burbank, David Mercier, Kevin, you're a member, and Harvey Poe.
whoops.
I move that we reappoint all of those guys.
Oh, second.
All in favor?
I just noticed this is a one-year
Yeah.
term. Is that
They're on Harbor Water.
They're
No?
all one-year terms.
23, 24?
These are just all one here.
Scott?
Is there a reason for it?
I think the reason why they've done the 1 year is that the chiefs, you appoint their officials for the town of Harpswell, and you appoint them on 1-year terms.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, I couldn't
And
remember.
and they fill that role as chiefs on this committee, so they really can't be appointed longer than they are the chief.
Correct.
And several are presidents of the organizations, and so they change
Yes,
from
yes,
time
of
to
course.
time as
Yep.
well.
That makes sense.
There are things outside our purview.
Oh, I'm sorry. Get back into it. Harbor and Waterfront, 3 members' terms were expiring, and all 3 have indicated their desire to continue. This committee size is 7 and 2 associates. If you reappoint the 3, they would be at 6 full members and 1 associate. So they are looking for 1 full member and 1 associate.
They're looking for another applicant.
Yes.
Harbor and Waterfront,
Anybody listening? Yeah, I move that we reappoint the 3 that have renewed.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Marine Resources, there was 2 in this category. They both have indicated their desire to continue. This committee is also 7 and 2, and if you appoint these 2 members tonight, they will be at 5 and 1, so they're actually looking for 3 committee members, Marine Resource.
We actually need a harvester on that committee
To meet the ordinance.
we do. Yep. I see what we can do.
Okay, so we need,
So Sean and
Sean and Mary Ann.
Mariana, yeah. Okay, I move we reappoint them.
second.
All in favor?
I want to go back to Harbor and Waterfront. Matt is an associate member.
He is.
I'd like to move him to regular member.
Did he want to be?
Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I don't see it, that's fine. I thought I was until a couple weeks ago. so
You get a chance to vote
I
then.
didn't even
Yeah.
realize it was gonna go in.
Okay.
Hey, don't worry about that.
Yeah, it's fine.
Don't be so
So
enthusiastic.
two
New
associates.
applicant will be the associate, right?
Correct, so then we're looking for one associate.
Yep.
Great. Mitchell Field, 3 current members, Don Miskell, Spike Hybel, Philip Connor, and they have all submitted a renewal application. This is a town committee not mandated by an ordinance. If you reappoint these 3 members, their size would be at 9, which is what their size has been determined to be. You did have 3 new applicants for this committee, but I did speak with one of the co-chairs today and would love to hold on to those applications if the opening happens, but they have nine very committed working people that show up for all the work days and all of the above. And he thought that 9 was sufficient at this time, but of course, it's up to the Board of Selectmen.
There again, that's a committee that has a lot of hands-on stuff that they do, so.
Could I just make one comment and recommendation, suggestion? Gary Fuller, I looked at folks' applications because I didn't know any of them. He is a very hands-on individual. And wonder if they would consider an associate position with the 9. This is an individual who background was plumbing, electrical, HVAC, construction, expertise in customer service, working independently, blah, blah, blah. Organized events for the town of Woburn, represented the town in promoting business and so on. Sounds like a person who would be very active to fit in with the character of Mitchell Field.
So I can send all 3 applications to the chairs for review
Well-
with your recommendation
Sure.
on Gary Fuller.
Gary Fuller being my recommendation, yeah, for those reasons, yeah.
I move that we renew Don, Tom, and Phil for the committee.
Second.
All in favor?
So Planning Board, Matt is very popular this evening.
Yeah.
So that is a 5-member board with 2 associates. One, the chair, resigned effective March 31st. You currently have 2 associates. One associate, Howard Levitan, has expressed his interest in becoming a full member. And then you do have a new applicant, Matt Gilly, for the board's consideration. So, and you have 3 members reapplying, Christine Donovan Hall, Courtney Snellings, and Daniel Hobecky. So
So-
if you reappoint the 3 members, which one is an associate, you need to consider Howard Levitan's request to go from associate to full, and Matt Gilly's application for consideration as well.
What are we doing with new applicants at a different time, or we can do it tonight? I mean,
This one, you are familiar with Matt Gilly, he's not a brand-new one.
I don't know.
Because he's
I'm
on,
familiar with them already.
on other,
Weird one.
on other committees. And so you have reviewed his application for his other committee, and so since the planning board needs a member, I mean, I think you're,
All right.
it's up to the board, but I think you're
Well, that's a-
welcome to act.
I will make an all-encompassing.
That's a rousing recommendation.
Make an
Well, it's up to
all-encompassing
the
motion.
board.
I move that we renew Christine, Courtney, and Daniel, and that we move Howard to associate,
From
Yep.
associate.
Full-time.
Yeah.
from associate to full-time, and that we appoint Matt as an associate.
Second.
Good job. All in favor?
Right. You asked for it, buddy.
Going for question.
That's a,
That would have been Board of Appeals.
Yeah, yeah.
except planning meets at least monthly, if
Oh,
not.
that's true,
If
yeah.
not twice.
Yeah.
And you get a big binder with it.
At least I get some.
Okay, Recreation Committee, that committee size is 7, and 2 associates, and you have 1 member not continuing as of April 30th. The other 2, I have spoken with each of them, and they do want to continue, Kevin Hunt and Gabriel Coulon. And Tom Mahoney, it didn't say it on here, but he's an associate. And there are 2 new applications. The rec director is familiar with Scott Gill because he had submitted it to her as well, but she has not seen Mark Weavers. So I wonder if you want to wait on the new people for the recreation director to review both of them and make recommendations in that area, but if you would consider, if so appropriate, to reappoint the 3, David Brooks, Kevin Hunt, and Gabriel.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Recycling Center Committee, that has been traditionally a 5-member committee. There are 4, there's 2 up for renewal, George and Phil, and they both have indicated their desire to continue.
Yeah, we reappoint them, and we need a few other members if anyone's interested.
Second.
All in favor?
This would be an exciting time, actually, because we're planning improvements to the recycling center, so it would be a good time to be on board for that.
Yeah, indeed.
So resiliency and sustainability. There were 3 full members and 1 associate whose term was about to expire, and they have indicated their desire to continue. You have 1, 2, 3. Nancy West was not a new applicant, but you have 3 new applicants. And there is 1 associate opening. But in speaking with the chair today, Mary Ann, she would like to reserve that 1 opening because she specifically is looking, that committee is specifically looking for a working waterfront member to fill that opening. So,
okay.
If you would consider the renewals.
Okay, so it's Nancy, Deidre, Mark, and Tim renewals, and I move that. We reappoint them.
Second.
All in favor?
Town Lands Committee, there are 2 members that have expressed their desire to continue, Jane Smith and Dave Hackett. Through the chair, I could not reach either of them, but I did speak with one of the co-chairs, Ken Omig, and he has said definitely they want to continue. They've already talked about some future happenings, and I will continue to try to reach out to them and make contact with them if you would like to consider them. And you do have 1 new applicant, but this would be full at this time if you reappointed the 2.
Yeah, I move we reappoint Jane and David.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well,
Wow.
enough of that.
So, we hadn't talked about our liaison appointments, just guys want to keep them the same as they've been. We usually talk about that after town meeting. but-
Oh, do you want comp plan?
Perfectly happily, we have that.
I thought you might be. I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Yeah, you good, David?
Yeah.
All right.
We just did, at our workshop, agree to form another working group. And I was assuming, Kevin, that you would be the liaison to that since it's around the harbor waterfront, marine resources
Loading her up.
area.
Load me up.
Yeah, is that acceptable?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I already told Paul, we dragged him into it. I told him.
You both seem thrilled.
I apologize. 2024 wage and salary adjustments.
So these come to you,
We just did it like a week ago.
really?
Seems like it.
Feels that way, yeah.
A year flew by, huh?
When do we get our raises, what I want to know.
So these were all, budgeted for in our 2024 budget, basically across the board, 3.2% cost of living increases, and in some situations, we were trying to get people closer to the midpoint, so there were some additional 1.5, and I think up to 2. You sure? I reviewed
One,
that.
1.5,
And
and
somebody
2.
was, and there was
Yeah.
one with 2, so. Again, everything budgeted for. I will say, before people get their raises, obviously, it has to be approved by the board, but we do conduct performance evaluations, so we meet with all the department heads. And, you know, everybody is working really hard. They really enjoy working for the town of Harpswell.
Keep it that way.
We have a really strong group. I think we have put together a really strong team in the code enforcement office. I know that's been one of the areas we were really focusing on. We have 3 full-time people, 2 certified code enforcement officers there. They are extremely busy because of the January storms have created, you know, a lot of additional work. So, you know, just really appreciate, you know, how people just step up and, you know, the plates are pretty full. I will say, in the coming year, we are really looking at getting our planning office in place. So obviously, we're hiring for a new full-time planner. Once we get that person on board, I mean, we're gonna be looking at the kinds of skills that that person has, what we might need to contract for, what additional kind of office assistance this person needs. So, you know, don't be surprised, we're working on that area, and I think you might see a little bit more in 2025 to ensure that we have a strong planning office. I mean, look at all the things the comp plan is talking about, and when you get to the implementation level, I think people need to realize that we need personnel, we need resources to accomplish some of these things. You know,
Absolutely.
people are stretched thin, and we're working hard. And, you know, again, I think if Harpswell wants to see some of these ideas that are being proposed in the comp plan implemented at some point, we're going to need some staffing to make that happen.
Well,
So,
and I want
anyway.
everyone to know that these numbers here, we didn't just pull them out of a hat. We've
No. Mm-hmm.
had great discussions about it, worked this out. So I moved the 3.2% as well as the other compensation adjustments that
Mm-hmm.
you referred to.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Cool. This is a big one. Place 2017 Silverado truck out to bid.
So,
Here we go
we
again.
have received this vehicle back from the sheriff's department probably several months ago. And when they returned it, they said, by the way, on the way up here, we were having some trouble with it.
Well, it's been from the time they got
And
it.
Yeah.
Right.
Chevys are, this time period, are known for electrical and mechanical issues.
What?
Anyway,
Didn't
so
know that, did you?
we had staff using it, but they were encountering problems. And, you know, we had it looked at, but again, the county had been constantly trying to
Oh, yeah.
figure out what was wrong. They took it to a number of, you know, entities. They thought they had it fixed. I mean, these are primarily, I would say, electrical, mechanical problems. And we have the whole history, which we will provide to any interested party. We just did not want to keep it as a town of Harpswell vehicle. We didn't want to spend a lot of money figuring out what the problem was, because we're continuing to get some other vehicles from the county once they're done with them. So we're proposing that this one be sold by the town in as-is condition. We will tell people there is this history, and they can, you know, look at our printout.
Yeah.
You know, we have looked at the Kelly Blue Book value for what they would consider fair condition, and it's surprising. It was like 11,500 on the low end.
I know,
Yeah,
it's
but
amazing.
except
Used trucks.
being a police vehicle, you can look and see what the hours are, the hours and the mileage,
They don't
because
compare.
they never shut them off.
Right, right.
So it's deceiving.
Yeah.
So, you know, we thought that might be a little on the high end.
Why don't we put it out to bid?
But you
that a
have to
motion?
kind of set.
It is.
I'll
You have
second
to
it.
set a minimum bid, though.
We do?
A minimum?
Well, you don't
5,000.
have to, but I think you should, because you don't wanna
About 5,000.
just wonder if somebody bid $200, like.
It's out of our
Or
hair.
$3, or $3.
A minimum bid.
Done.
I mean, there's some value to it if somebody wants to spend time and money.
Well,
How about
we'll spend
5,000?
time.
5,000 minimum bid, how was that?
A 5,000 minimum?
Minimum.
All right.
See what we get.
That your motion?
That's your motion.
No.
I just tacked on to it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll second it.
All right. All in favor?
Okay, great.
Set public hearing for Quahog Bay Conservancy closure request.
So this comes from your harbor master and marine resource administrator. The Marine Resource Committee is recommending closure of Quahog Bay, August 1 through December 1st. You need to set a public hearing to consider the recommendation. The request is that you set the public hearing in 2 weeks. That date's escaping me, but 2 weeks at 6:15.
Hang on a second, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't have my phone with me tonight.
May 9th.
May 9th.
Yep.
You know, let me tell you, that caused a stink,
What did,
the closure in the committee.
oh,
Not everybody was happy.
Well,
Well, they're closing all of Quahog Bay's a lot.
Yeah, it needs to be done.
they made a good point.
Yeah.
It needs to be done.
That it would be.
We've done it before.
They should all come to the hearing, and if they, I mean, the majority must have, because Paul indicates the Marine Resource Committee's recommending,
Yep. Oh, yeah, yeah.
but
Yeah. The whole
everyone
committee
should,
voted, yes.
everyone should come and speak at the hearing
Yep.
if they're not in favor
I
of
I
it.
told them to.
I move we set a public hearing for May 9th.
Second,
All in favor?
6:15.
Public comment? No? Other business?
Did good?
Wanted to discuss scheduling the town administrators
oh.
review.
yes.
Would you be
I
willing
love
to,
how
hear
you're
about
looking
that.
out for me.
Yeah.
in 2 weeks
Yeah.
at the end of your meeting? Because you can do that
Oh.
in executive
Sure.
session.
Yep, okay.
Yeah,
Good deal.
fine.
May 9th.
Sounds good.
That's what my wife does in her office. They all make they do their own reviews.
Oh.
We do self-evaluations,
Do you?
and then we meet with the department heads.
Oh,
Rubber stamp it.
yeah.
No, we have great conversations.
Okay.
We really
We do, we definitely do.
That's the secret. In that case, oh, Mary Ann, we're adjourned.